very much. Here we are again, second conversation. Great to have you here. Thanks for giving us your time tonight.
It's my pleasure.
Great. So obviously we spoke to you more or less this time last year, went over many different things. I absolutely loved my time talking to you. Really pleased to be back. What I want to ask to start with is, what's the biggest changes for you? It's a year on, we're still sort of in this weird limbo land with COVID. Things have opened up slightly with horses and competitions. Sort of, how's life for you now, 1 year on?
It's opened up massively actually in the last month, 2 months, and life suddenly became very busy. Having not had the craziness of the summer season, I suppose, last year, that's been the biggest change, I suppose, and shock to the system. The last 6 weeks where suddenly everything kicked off.
The last 6 weeks we've just had, you mean? Yeah. Yes, because I kept an eye on your social media, and it was like every week in the moment, another gold medal.
Yeah.
Is it fair to say, from a coaching standpoint, it's been pretty good for you recently, right?
Yeah, it's been really good, but it's just like, that's the biggest change, the layers of work that have started again, and it's wonderful. It's definitely, the last year has given us a bit of time and a bit of space, and you've had a bit more, time and space to organise yourself, and then suddenly you remember what it was like before.
Yeah.
I did say to my lovely husband to remind me that if I seemed like I was on the crazy roundabout and I needed to stop it and get off, then that he was to remind me of that. I've been on the crazy roundabout a bit.
So there were some positives to come out of COVID. You found a bit of sort of peace, if you like, and that obviously has benefited you with your coaching.
Absolutely. And
now going back into it, and it's a bit full on and frantic. Do you think you're going forward, maybe make a bit more time for yourself, or are you trying to get back into the old regime? And
no, I think COVID allowed a lot of people to stop and think, and it definitely did me, and it made me realise where I'm at my best, and when I function at my best, and how I want to be. I didn't like sometimes stressed me, who was felt a bit sort of overwhelmed with everything, and it allowed me to find that place where I want to be, and be a bit more specific about how I want to coach, how I want to deliver certain things. So I've been able to work on that. Another brilliant thing about it has been that we've actually, a lot of us coaches have got together and communicated a lot more, which has been fantastic.
Yeah, which is something that's quite often lacking in our kind of sport, isn't it? We kind of go about our coaching and everyone sticks in their lane, but not very often do we sit down and kind of talk and swap stories and kind of see what everyone else is doing. And actually it's almost like therapy in a way, isn't it? Because you kind of hear quite often you're doing similar things, and it's quite nice to just kind of share those experiences.
It's been amazing. There's been so many good things come out of that. There's actually a sort of group of coaches that has become a connected coaches group, and from that there's been loads of things evolve. There's a Friday night coaches quiz that I started April of last year, which is still going on Zoom, and it sometimes becomes a therapy session, but otherwise it's just a good fun quiz, and everyone gets together on Zoom, and it's great.
Awesome.
Yeah, a real mix of coaches as well.
And do you feel like, where you've got more interaction with them, albeit from a sort of slightly social point of view, do you feel like actually you're not stealing each other's ideas, but are you swapping kind of trains of thoughts, and maybe it's improving your own game as well?
Absolutely. Even just hearing tales of woe from a similar standpoint, but definitely.
It's reassurance, isn't it? It's not just me. This is happening to you. It's like,
It's absolutely, and a bit of encouragement for each other, and some coaches going through different qualifications or being able to mentor each other a bit as well.
Brilliant. So people have continued to push forward and better themselves, getting new qualifications. They're obviously still striving and going forward.
That's a big thing that's happened to me this year too.
Right.
So if it hadn't been for lockdown, I wouldn't have applied to go on the level 4, which is a postgraduate diploma in professional sports coaching, which I am just finished my first year off with Gloucester Uni.
Wow.
Oh my God. There's only 3 equestrian coaches on it, and I think there's another. I think there's 12 or 14 of us on the programme, that are from rugby and skiing and rowing and various other sports. 3 of us from equestrian. One of them, Sophie Wells, the Paralympian.
Yes, yeah.
Another, Nicola McLeish, who's in showjumping with me. But the slightly sad part of it is we've only been to university once, and then we haven't been since. It's all been on Teams.
Yeah.
So we're really hoping that this second year we'll actually get to do.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah, that would be amazing.
Yeah.
That's something I would never have done before.
What, going?
Gone back to uni
right.
to do that. I'd said no for about the last 5 years.
Yeah.
So that's been a huge eye opener.
Yeah.
Really good.
You were saying it's giving you time to sort of stop and think, and sort of evaluate how you get the best out of yourself. And you were saying you're trying not to show frustration or that overload. I mean, can you give us an example, like in the past, how have you dealt with that feeling? Because I think as a coach and as a rider and anyone really that works in this industry, it can be hard, and it will be hard for pretty much everyone. And I think all coaches have that point where they kind of go, oh, this just isn't working, or it's just frustration, or for whatever reason you're not getting the results. Like, how have you dealt with that?
The thing I've realised is that I prefer quality over quantity. So a big decision was that I don't really want to do the one-off clinics where you might see, if you're coaching at one point, I would have done 6, 7, 8 hours with 4 people in a group, non-stop coming at you, and I might have been in any part of the country and I probably wouldn't have seen them again, or I might have seen some of them again.
Yeah.
Just realised that's the worst situation for me. You know, it's so unsatisfying, I think, for everyone. And some people love it, but I've just realised that's really not my bag.
Well, so you're saying you want to see the same people and try and build up more of a sort of relationship, coaching relationship.
Yeah, so what I've realised is that I enjoy the long term, the big picture, the holistic view, where I know a lot about the person, the horse, you know, what they're eating, what they're doing in the week, what's going on socially, family, school, anything, all the things that come together to affect them, and I'm interested in more than just that 1 hour in the arena.
Yeah, well, you become such a big factor in their life, don't you?
think, yeah.
And I don't think coaches always stop and realise that.
No, I agreed, and I found that I've sort of said, right, okay, I will do really, after 6 hours, my brain's gone, I'm fried. I don't want to be my 7th or 8th person, so that's another thing I changed. Yeah,
and which makes such sort of simple thinking when you actually stop to sort of work it out. But I'll never forget sort of a top grooming industry I spoke to years ago, and I remember picking her brain. And at that point, I fancied myself as a top jockey, you know, as a rider. And the guy I was working for at the time, he only rode about 5 horses in a day, and at the time I was very, very young, thinking that's not many, because he had a big string. He wouldn't ride. We would ride the others, and he would focus on 5 a day.
Yeah.
And I remember saying to this groom, and I remember saying, you know, that doesn't seem very many horses. Don't you? Maybe he should be riding more. It's amazing what you say when you're young. The confidence is. I've never dreamed of saying that now. And she just said, look, after 4 or 5 horses, your focus does dwindle.
Yeah.
And this rider was just not prepared to get on the 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th horse.
Fantastic.
And do an average job. He just isn't prepared to do that. That's why you guys are lucky enough to ride the other horses, because you're only riding 1 a day.
Yeah.
So you're fresh and focused for that one. And I remember just thinking, oh, that makes complete sense.
Yeah.
But not everyone does that. You know, if you have a yard of 10, you have this almost sometimes pressure of, well, I need to ride 10. Because I got 10, I need to ride 10.
Yeah.
But actually, you need to look after yourself. And
yeah.
it's mentally killing, isn't it?
Yeah,
you know?
Absolutely. That definitely is something, a big, huge thing I've taken. And to realise, I think also in the last year I've completed a mentoring qualification and realised that I do actually really enjoy that aspect of it, and encourage my clients to work with me between sessions. I've also started to offer, and I did this in lockdown, and it's phenomenal how well it worked and how popular it was, but to do Zoom calls, to do mentoring sessions that are not in the arena on the horse, but they're actually a sit down, okay, goal setting, that kind of stuff, and take that time, and yes, get paid for it too, but put that as a part of a package that clients can access.
It's through COVID, it's amazing that there have been positives, because I'm fairly confident if I ask you, would you have done the Zoom calls prior to COVID?
Well,
the answer would be a no.
Zoom was.
Right, so we have learned so much more now through having to do online tuition, and we can't meet up, or we can more now, but we wouldn't have been able to in months gone by, sit down and have those sort of face-to-face learning sessions. So we've learned a great deal
Yeah.
about that. How do you, with all of that, you're obviously making great efforts to kind of be there for your students whenever they need it. How do you find the continued sort of enthusiasm? Because you are one of those people that if you're even anywhere near you, you just pick up this kind of contagious energy. How do you stay sort of motivated with your coaching and keep that energy?
It's a passion. It's part of me, and it sounds really not pathetic. It sounds silly, but it's part of who I am. And actually, when that initial lockdown hit, and I'm sure we all panicked a bit, my first reaction was, but I can't do what makes me me, and it really slapped me for I think everyone for a few days, and it was very well. Then I started baking bread and making
that
stuff
was your slight sort of meltdown, was it? Just go and make some bread.
I tried to grow tomatoes. They were rubbish. I tried to grow courgettes.
Right.
They were rubbish. I've made a lot of bread. I made Andy put quite a lot of weight on through making a lot of bread.
Right, the carbs.
And so then we had to change that. But I was like, oh well, if coaching is all I am, then how pathetic am I? But actually, it's what I love, and it gives me great pleasure to see partnerships develop and horses, and that's at the end of the day, we love horses. That's why we do this, because for the love of them and the love of the sport. But again, it's about people. It's about developing, helping, empowering people to be the best.
You're hitting all those buzzwords. I like it. Empowering, helping. That's brilliant.
Oh, there you go.
No, but it's true, isn't it? Like
no,
it's not just talk. That is why you do it.
Yeah.
And you know that. It's very.
Yes.
And anyone knows that. It's very transparent with you. We got to see you coach a little bit this morning, and it was the guys that were turning up for the lessons, they're just smiling ear to ear and that's before they even had the lesson or anything, I'd be terrified.
They're not always smiling ear to ear. I'm also known as being really tough, which always baffles me.
Yeah, but people, I wouldn't have had you down as a...
Oh no. I'm too scary for some people,
really?
But there you go. But look, you always find your niche, don't you?
Yeah,
definitely. You find the people that fit with you, and that's another thing that I guess you realise as you get a little older, is you're not going to work with everyone. It's a relationship, and that's what's so important about having the right coaches. It's that trust, it's that bond, it's the relationship that you can really work with each other. And as much as I love working with my clients, it does come the other way with them sometimes as well, that it's a nice two-way thing.
Yeah.
So I get some really, really nice work and support from them. They might be experts in other fields that I get to utilise as well, which is really nice.
Yeah, definitely.
So,
and staying on your sort of coaching for a minute, playing devil's advocate, I suppose, let's just say hypothetically coaching was an avenue that suddenly you were sort of paused at and you actually you couldn't carry on with for one reason or other, COVID being one of them. Do you have any idea where you would go?
What, non-horsey? Or?
As I said, devil's advocate. Have you ever thought, like at the start of COVID, you're thinking, coaching is kind of looks like it might not be happening in the general sense that we expect it to. Did you kind of go, God, what else am I going to do?
Well, I volunteered.
Not that I'm saying you don't have any other skills, but it's like, I think as you said earlier, we all re-evaluated through COVID, and we all kind of had a bit of a look at the way we were doing things. And I wondered if you'd sat there, because I know I did, and kind of went, God, where do I go from here? I wondered if you had that, because you don't get it. Seeing you now, I saw you last year, I'm seeing you a year on, the confidence is still up here. I wondered if you ever had those moments you kind of went...
Well, absolutely. I mean, I think the sort of, everyone pulled together. I did volunteer for various things. I went and did supermarket shopping for people who were shielding, whatever the word is. I did that. And for a brief moment, I considered whether I could help by driving an ambulance, but then I realised, what am I doing? What is this? But anyway, that was in the thick of it. It's always been an ambition of mine to be able to do my job without standing in the middle of an arena, and I fulfilled that ambition during lockdown with the whole
with
online
the Zoom and
stuff.
Online.
Yes.
And is that still the way you're thinking?
No,
because nothing's going to replace that.
No, I just didn't want to be a one-trick pony that I'm going to be 75 years old hunched over in the middle of an arena saying, go and jump that again.
Yeah.
I might still be doing that, but I'd like to be able to do other things.
100% you will be. We'll come back in 40 years and it'll be like, how
she's still at it.
She's still going,
shouting.
and I'll be still asking me, where do you get the motivation? Like, I don't know.
I'll still be riding.
Yeah.
So there you go.
Yeah.
No, well, so that's something that I was thinking. Well, I want to be able to do more than that. I'm really interested in the politics of the sport because I love my sport.
And your voice carries a lot of weight. I think.
I think
when you like say you would put something on social media, or if you had something to say on the sport, I think people would sit back and listen.
Well, it's been really good. I mean, literally starting from being on the area rep for Suffolk for British Showjumping, that's a voluntary role, but it gives you an opportunity to steer the ship rather than moan about the ship not going in the direction that you want.
Which is what I do. I don't steer the ship. I sit at the back of the ship and moan. So I'm pleased to know that someone in.
It's a tiny little steer. It's a little bit like that ship that got stuck in the Suez Canal. But anyway.
That wasn't a tiny ship.
No, it's a huge ship. Sorry,
Yeah.
It's very hard to tell. So I'm also on the Members' Council, and I do put my head above the parapet, and sometimes you get shot at.
So just touching on that, sorry, but would you say do you have a sort of train of thought which would be big risk, big reward? So would you kind of take those chances and say something and kind of I might get a bit of flack or a bit of backlash, but actually
I think I'm a bit of a middle ground risk person. I'd be more of a negotiator, a planter of a seed rather than a hand grenade, I think.
Right.
Probably, if I'm honest, that's
the best way to be, I think, isn't it? Yeah.
I have achieved something which I'm quite proud of. In a members' council meeting, I asked about the possibility of the riders being able to wear grey breeches once upon a time, and I actually almost felt a bit silly by asking this question. And then a few months later, the rule was changed that grey breeches were allowed.
Grey breeches.
So we can compete in grey breeches now.
Right.
Yeah.
As opposed to white and cream.
White, beige, cream. Now we can compete in grey, and
I mean, it's fantastic.
I'm like, if I never do anything
exactly,
else,
you've always got that.
I got that.
Thanks, everyone's always going to thank you for
the
now
grey
and forever.
breeches. Not everyone has thanked me for the grey breeches.
I'm just trying to think, grey breeches?
Yes.
Do you mean as in like grey?
Well, so I was wearing grey breeches today.
Right.
You can compete in them.
Yeah, that's cool.
You can also compete in darker grey breeches. What? Look.
Can you lobby for like multicoloured though? Because that's the step I'm waiting for. We really must try and move forward surely into like.
Yeah, I think things are moving forwards.
But am I right in saying, be a British Showjumping now, you can jump with, as long as it's a single colour,
yeah,
it can be any colour?
Jacket, yeah.
So what on breeches?
Well, yeah, it was still, it's white, cream, beige, grey.
But
not navy
bright
or
pink.
Black or pink.
No. Give it time. Give it time. We'll get there.
Pink would be fun, wouldn't it?
Is that something that, I mean, if we're touching on British Showjumping as a sport, I mean, are there changes that you sort of sit here tonight and sort of think, God, we laugh about the grey breeches. I think we're laughing about the grey breeches, as in your life's work has boiled down to that. But is there anything so far? Still got years to go,
Yeah.
But is there anything you're thinking, God, I'd love to see that change happen within our sport?
Yeah, and I think there is a lot happening and changing within the sport. I think I know from the equality and diversity side of things that the sport's moving, which is brilliant, and opening up the sport. Well, I mean, I see the sport as being open, but I guess an element of finances are needed in order to be able to have a horse to compete, etc. That's the one thing that does hold you back. But things that apprenticeships, academies, youth sports, or the youth teams that I'm involved with, all of that, I'm really passionate about that, and it's something I definitely want to be involved in the future. I absolutely love Chef to Keeping the pony teams now. I can't believe I'm saying that. I didn't love it my first season at all.
How long has it been now that you've been in that role?
This is the 4th season.
Okay. And do they, with the age group, where do they kind of range from?
10 to 16.
So the 10-year-olds, are they sort of, are they confident, or are they a bit sort of, because I remember when I was 10.
They're fantastic.
Okay.
They're all amazing.
And they're encouraged to be chatty.
So the 10-year-olds are competing, not for their nation. It's meant to be much more of a fun competition. So basically they qualify to compete on a team, and then we draw it out of a hat, and the teams are mixed nations and all the rest of it. The 12 to 16 year olds, that's a lot more serious. They're jumping at a higher level, and they're competing for their home nation.
Sure.
And all the things that team sport involves, and that there are different pressures, but they're fantastic in all their different ways, and that's my role, is to support them and to get the best from them on the day, and help them to perform and excel.
Do you feel from your coaching, if you compare, I don't know, an average day where you've got, I don't know how many lessons you on average teach a day, but individual lessons, working with the same rider week in, week out, compared to going to, I don't know, a championship with the teams, which one do you face more in terms of challenging? Which are they completely different styles coaching? Do the teams demand a different side of you?
Yeah.
100%.
100%.
So you're flexing different muscles.
Absolutely.
And you're coaching
and that's part of the team thing, is I had to learn to be a bit tougher. It's not so much of a coaching role. That's the thing. I would say I would be normally a very nurturing person and encouraging, and yes, that is part of that role. But before the team event itself happens, I have to make some hard decisions, and that might be hard for me, and it might be hard for the person on the end of it.
Yeah.
So I generally I start with 5 riders, and I have to select 4 for the team and 1 reserve from a class on the previous day. So that's a tough one. And so then I have to be, the official, and I have to be very logical. I have to make a clear decision. I have to make it straight away and stick to my guns.
Yeah.
And it's not that is for that event the next day. That can be that's what I found tough initially, but actually I get it now.
You've sort of grown into the role.
I think so. I might still trip.
Well, I guess.
But I'll learn.
But that's it. You'll learn.
Yeah.
You get it wrong and you learn.
Yeah, I'll learn.
Yeah,
Definitely.
And then when you come back to your sort of more familiar riders, do you slightly take off one cap, coaching, put on another?
Yeah, definitely. Much more for the longer term, with such a variety of goals and things that they're working towards. I have to say, I do quite like the hard bit of the teams. I really do enjoy that. And
making the tough decisions.
Yeah,
Well, I guess it's where it's sort of testing your experience and decision making.
Yeah.
That is it there, because if they don't go out and produce the goods, or it goes belly up, people probably start looking around and go, well, who put the team together?
Well, that's it. I mean,
touch wood. So
wood.
far, it's going all right, isn't it? So people are kind of looking at you, going, she's doing all right, making good decisions.
The results are awesome.
Yeah.
The even better thing for me is now the environment, the atmosphere around those teams, and that has improved so much, and that is really heartwarming.
Well, I guess you see it, from the inside. So we would see it from the outside. We see the results, but you're right. Like, you look at any successful team sort of environment, it's the culture. Yeah, it's the culture, 100%. Yeah. And what's great, obviously, now is that we're in a position days after the Olympic final. We've done amazing.
Yeah.
From what I know, which is not a lot about Olympics sort of and funding for UK sport, but I think when we do well, the funding and the money does go towards the sports that have been successful.
Yes.
I think I'm correct in saying that.
Yes.
So on one hand, we're looking and going, Ben, they're fantastic, the whole team, and the eventing and dressage as well.
Oh, incredible.
But we're also going, that's great for everyone.
It is
because
amazing for everyone. That
money's going to filter down more opportunities. And you were saying, obviously, to a degree, you need to not come from means, but you need that financial start. You need a certain amount of money in place for a horse, for lessons, for equipment, whatever it is. But hopefully this might alleviate a little bit of the difficulty to get into riding. Yeah, I mean, obviously
it's been a difficult period of time for everyone, and but it certainly will only do us good to have brought home so many fantastic medals already. And yes, it will filter through. Certainly off the back of London 2012, it did. Absolutely.
Definitely. I'll never forget, we are our family riding school off the back of 2012. The amount of people that suddenly wanted to take up riding because they saw the horses dancing in London, it was like fantastic. That's what we want, and to a certain degree, it's sort of maintained. Obviously, Rio kind of helped inject that excitement back. I do feel this time though, I'd love to know what you think, but I feel with Tokyo, there's a bigger sense of, I guess we've done so much better, because we have, haven't we, across the board, our 3 disciplines. I don't know, I feel like something special that's going to come from this.
Yeah,
for the sports, I mean.
Definitely. It also feels like, because of the pandemic and the event being a year late, and the guys going out there under fairly difficult sort of, I don't know, an environment, I suppose. It's very limited, very restricting. They're going out there to perform. There's not too much nicety about it, I imagine. You know, they have to do everything very correctly. Obviously, they would normally anyway. But yeah, it feels like no one's been able to see what the others are doing, and then suddenly we've gone in that place and we've done really, really well. There's been no comparison really available.
No, there hasn't.
So to come out and shine on the world stage like that.
I mean, from an eventing standpoint, obviously we didn't have our big run-up events, and sort of think, well, who's doing well, who's going well, who do we fancy, who don't we fancy?
Same with the dressage, I suppose.
And then suddenly, as you said, these results were there, and it's like, I guess if you were on the inside of that, and you knew how these, and you were the team selectors, and you were in constant contact, you would have an inkling that we're in pretty good form.
Absolutely.
But from the outside, it was kind of, I guess we might do well, because these are fantastic rider-horse combinations, but to be so consistently well at the top now
it's very good.
It is amazing.
It's just so exciting and brilliant. And I know the eventers, it was 1972, wasn't it?
What last time we
won a team gold.
Yeah,
which is incredible.
History, isn't it?
Yeah. So God, fingers crossed for our show jumpers tomorrow and Saturday.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Yeah, we can only keep our fingers crossed, I suppose.
Absolutely.
So if we make a slight change in conversation now, Mia, we've gone over sort of British show jumping and talked about the sort of changes that we'd maybe like to put in place. For young, passionate people who would like to maybe enter the industry, so whether they've come from a riding school background, have their own pony, maybe thinking about going to an equine college, is there anything that you feel could be better? Or is there anything that you would, maybe if one of your students came to you and said, I want to go into this full-time as a career just like you, Mia, what advice can you give me? Is there anything, pearls of wisdom that you would offload?
Pearls of wisdom would definitely always be, get as many strings to your bow as you possibly can. So don't think you're going to go and make your living as a rider, just riding for the rest of your life, because there needs to be a bit more to it than that. I also really believe that qualifications are hugely important, and qualifications that you can fall back on. So through your equine colleges, through your apprenticeships, that you even if it's an NVQ, whatever it is, something that's transferable, that if you go, do you know what, this isn't for me, I can go into college or uni or whatever in the future. I sound like someone's mum, don't I?
No, you sound you do sound like my mother. Because that was exactly, if I'm honest, that's exactly the conversation I had. But you sound realistic.
I just think
I can sit here and hear that and say that sounds realistic.
I actually have some clients in the last year that I have dealt with this exact thing with. So a really, really lovely young man who wanted to finish school, and first of all he was wanted to go to one of the really good equine colleges, and then wasn't so sure whether he wanted to after all. So actually I've got him into an apprenticeship with one of my very good professional coaching colleagues. Has got a yard where he's gone, he's bought a horse, he's doing a 2-year apprenticeship, and he's needing to be reminded a lot that this is a very long job. It's a very long term job, and he isn't probably going to be in Paris in the Olympics, and the percentage of riders that actually make a living from just riding is quite small. So he really needs to have those qualifications to back him up. He's a clever lad, and that would definitely be my advice. Strings to your bow.
Yeah, which I agree with. I do wholeheartedly agree with.
I hear a but.
There is a but.
Go on.
Again, devil's advocate, I'm just going to throw it in there. So you obviously encounter a lot of riders and a lot of talented riders. Now, what if you come across a rider who's reaching that age where they're having to make decisions heading into final years at school. Are they going to stay at school, go to college, go get a trade or whatever, do an apprenticeship, whatever it is? Would you, if they were just one of those God-given talents at riding, and you God, if they had the right horse and they were coached in the right direction, mentored in the right direction, they probably, we don't ever talk like this. We don't ever say, you know, that rider has got that kind of X factor, if you like, stick him on any horse and he'll get a tune out of it. Would you say to them the same sort of advice is, look, get qualifications, because you can fall back on them if it goes wrong and doesn't work out? You still would. You wouldn't say, if their dream was, I want to ride at the Olympics, you wouldn't say, oh, you know what, follow that.
I'd totally encourage them to follow that, but I'd also totally encourage them to make sure that they shore up their future. And I think it's so important that you're balanced, and that you I mean, to be that rider, take that incredibly talented person, they can be as talented as they like, but they need also to be coachable. They need probably owners. They need to know how to run a business. They need to know all of those different skill sets in order to make it, you know, in the sport. And you can't do it with one horse. You got to produce the horses, and to produce the horses, you need to earn the money to buy the horses to produce, or to, you know, liaise with the owners that are going to support you and back you, and employ people, run a yard. Sorry.
Broken my dreams here, if I'm honest.
Not at all.
I thought I was going to go to the Olympics.
Pursue your dreams, absolutely. You can be anything you want to be, but
do it in a smart way.
You can't do it on your unicorn on your own.
It's
you need a team.
You do. No, I hear what you're saying, and I think actually what I loved was that you touched on the business side of things. And I look at so many young riders now, and I include myself, not that I'm a young rider, I wish I was, maybe like 10 years ago, but actually I wish someone had steered me into doing a business course, because I've since run businesses and run yards, and you know, you go from being at what we would class as an athlete, as a rider, and suddenly you want, okay, the next step, I've worked for different professional riders, I think I know roughly what I'm doing, I'm going to run a yard, and you know, you can go and do it, but suddenly you're talking about paying staff, all your bills that you pay, you've got to do your tax returns, all those really exciting things, and suddenly you're thinking, hang on, this is more business than it is actually getting on a horse and riding. So I hear what you're saying, and I think I completely agree. I think get those qualifications, do definitely, because you don't know, as you said, it's such a long sport, and there are so many things could knock you off that path. It could be injury.
Well, even if you stay on that path forever and ever, if you know how to do business, you know how to run a yard, you know how to coach, whether that's your thing or not. Buying and selling horses obviously is the other way of generating income. Having clients around you, there's so many income streams that are available to you. And even if you are going to be Scott Brash or Ben Mayer, Ben has several riders based with him that he supports and works with and coaches and produces their horses with, and it's a massive machine.
You see that more and more now, I've noticed, with a lot of the top flight international riders. They quite often will have those sort of be mentoring, as you said, like a couple of younger riders can base themselves. I mean, that is
absolutely
such a cool thing to do,
isn't it?
Yeah, amazing. You know, to be able to say you're based at Scott Brash's yard, and he's kind of watching that over you. It's amazing.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, he's in probably a slightly different position. He's got the most phenomenal owners, and he can really focus on his sport and his horses. I don't know the individual circumstances of each, but I think you could look at Ben as a really good example in that. He has many irons in the fire, and it's a big operation.
It's almost like
Holly as well, actually.
Smith.
Yeah.
Right, because she was buying and selling, and I think she probably still does.
Her husband is also really, really, you know, a very horsey man. He's a hunting man. He's a farrier. They're buying and selling, and you know, so there's a huge support team there, which is phenomenally important. I always think of not that I know that much about him, but Heath Ryan, an Australian event rider. I've heard a little bit about him, but everything has always been that he's just this direction going. He's always, you know, shoeing his own horses, breaking horses in, brand new youngsters, and doing this, that, and the other, and at the same time training sort of riders at the top level and competing at the top level. I mean, he might not be now because he must be like 150, but he's a guy that's just kind of
as you said, different avenues, different strings to your bow, and
Yeah.
in a way, I can really commend it. And I kind of go, wow, he's doing everything that he possibly can. But I also look at it and I go, it's a shame that in our sport we kind of have to do that, and that it's not more readily accessible to just be, well, not just be, but
To focus, you mean?
yeah, like if you were a top flight show jumper, as you said, I can count on one hand the number of riders that can probably just compete horses in show jumping classes for a living.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think when you are, obviously we have the talent pathways, so when you are in and on those talent pathways, then a lot of that is taken care of for you. So then you get at the top level of the talent pathways, you have funding, you have the support of vets and farriers and nutritionists and physios and coaches and what have you. And it allows you to be a full-time athlete a lot more.
But you have to prove the results
Absolutely.
to get that support, which on one hand I do understand, because you can't just give that support and that financial support to just anyone.
Well, then it becomes a juxtaposition, because are results success, are results talent, or is success and talent someone that is able to continually develop? But you can't prove that. You can prove results for funding, and then this is the tricky thing about
it's a little bit chicken and egg, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's like you might have a young rider with a young horse, but it's got all the promise in the world. Now I would look at that and go, okay, we need to support that guy or girl, help with the physio and give him some personal training to get him as fit and as strong as possible, but he hasn't got the results yet.
No.
So he doesn't fall into that category.
No.
But I do understand it is a business,
Yeah.
and actually the top boys and girls, they've got those results, and go, well, we're going to give the funding to them and continue to help them get those results.
Yes.
So it's a business at the end of the day, isn't it?
It is,
and
So it's I find that's again, this has been the joy of some of the work I've done on the university program that I'm on, and that has been to sort of explore those kind of avenues a lot more and sort of investigate the pros and the cons and how does it work? What is talent? What is success? How can you prove it? So it's exactly what you say.
Well, I think if we're looking at a measurement of what success is, we can look. I mean, I know the Olympics are still going on as we sit and speak right now, but so far it's looking pretty good. It's looking pretty bright, and I'd say we're doing pretty well and we are successful.
Yeah, 100%.
You've obviously gone back into coaching. Well, you've been coaching the whole time, but you're
within limitations.
Yeah.
Anyway,
but you're making the best of it. Your results are there.
Well, we had to be. It was amazing how creative you had to be. Actually, you could do this, you couldn't do that, and then the next time you couldn't do that, but you could do the other, and you had to be really creative about it. Which is good.
Yeah. Well, we're plodding on and getting through it and learning each day what we can and can't do, and as I said at the start of this chat, your results in your coaching are just speaking for themselves. So I take my hat off. If I had a hat, I'd take it off. Mia, it's been again an absolute pleasure to sit and chat to you. I could probably carry on chatting for 4 hours, but probably should probably call it a day at some point. Thank you very much. I wish you all continued success.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you again.
Very kind.